How's everybody doing? Welcome aboard for the next, I don't know, couple hours or so. I'm going to be your host. My name is Matt, the Grass Factor. Martin! Coming on a little bit early here. Today is our favorite show that we all love so much, called Pick the Doc's Brain. Still trying to get everything kind of situated on my end. A little bit. I don't normally come on and just let music play for 2 hours, but that was totally at the behest and request of Lushy!
Look out.
All right, how's everybody doing? My goodness, what a beautiful day. The back call to Green Doc's going to be coming on right at 4 o'clock. I talked to him, and excited to see everything we'll get to unpack from that platform. It should be a good time. I'm using a different camera right now, so I apologize. It's off. Something's wrong. I don't know, but there's a lag between this, and I don't know what I did wrong, but I did something wrong, and that's okay. Checking the multi-stream. What? Why isn't this show? Oh, here it goes. We got Lushy, who's over on Facebook Face Crack. By the way, if you'd like to check it out on Twitch, you can go to twitchtv.com. What is today? I don't even know what today is. Today is Wednesday. Twitch.tv/thegrassfactor. You can go over there too, if you should like. I know some people like that platform, other people don't. Look, Aldo said Twitch is litty. I don't know exactly what that means, but I'll take it. It's lit. What? Lit. So you can check out those two places. Oh yeah, Twitch is going. I see here. I see. Let's see what's going on. Yeah, there's something like I've got this camera. It's supposed to be going at 60 frames per second, and this is clearly going at less than 24. I think it's only 20 frames per second. It looks off. Lushy Lawns, Lush Lawns is over at Twitch as well. I didn't know you were a big Twitch person. What's up, Billy G? How are you, good sir? Man, look, it's funny seeing everybody come in when I first launched this. Izzy was number one. That's what I'm talking about. Number one in the chat and number one in our hearts. Telly Coleman was number two. Telly, you're usually number one, but you did good. Yeah, that's right. The SpaceX watch party. I wish I could. Do it. Yeah, you know. Stream the high altitude launch of the Starship, but I can't do that. Let's see, they're going to 394 feet today. Ooh. Ooh. That's pretty incredible. Let me hop over here on this other screen and see what I can do with it. there's that. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think I got it all figured out on my end. Yeah, it looks like they're going live at 4 here in about 10 minutes, and we'll see. They probably won't launch for about 30 minutes or so. So somewhere around the 4:30 mark, we'll get that going. What's going on, Cirillo? Broligic. All right, I know I messed that up. I apologize. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I screwed it up. You know, I don't know why this came up for electronic music, but for whatever reason it did. Oh, by the way, let me go ahead and get this connected to the board as well, so that way I'm not scrambling at the time to hurry up and have all my connections going. All right, that's connecting. Should work. This does have the Scarface vibes. So for those of you that are playing along, this one's actually going to be hard to go back and watch because there's going to be I'll have to go back and clip that if I can. Clip the first 2 hours of music to make it rewatchable. Should make things easier. Gonna be coming up soon. We're gonna have a big sale on the Subvert products. By the way, if you wanna check that out, you definitely you can head over to subvertmpk.com. You can kind of see the rebuild over there. I've got a lot of still got to add. I've been writing in WordPress today. We're going to be talking about, I'm writing about EDT chelations, glucoheptanate chelations, EDHA chelations, uptake rates of each. It's kind of interesting because when I started doing the research into the foliar availability of the individual chelates, they start doing everything in moles, and it's an added layer of math and complexity to trying to organize your thoughts with all that. So it makes it a little bit difficult, but you know what? I'll get it figured out somehow, some way. If you want to show some love to the Subvert people, you can head over to facebook.com. See, something like that, and then / what is it? Subvert MPK. I think that's it. That is it. I'll throw that up there. Oh man, come on. I can't even log in. Twitch is over here playing games with me. I'll tell you that right now. All right. That, and then back over here, and then that. Okay. Hey, look at this. Got it. Twitch is all about games, and so it's kind of an odd thing to be streaming this on here, but I realized that there's actually a lot of people that do talk shows on Twitch, and so I was like, well, why not? I might as well throw it on here and see how it ends up working out. I think it's fine. I know I don't watch a lot of it, but also I don't watch a lot of games or play a lot of games or anything. To be honest, I don't have time. I hardly have time to do half the things I want to do. Yeah, that's right. The more platforms, the better. You might as well. You know what I mean? Because you're going to catch people that just favor, one over the other, and that's just the way they roll. They have that preference, and that's where they want to be. That's where they feel the most comfortable. By the way, if you want to check it out, you can go over to Instagram. The Insta! I don't know. We may be throwing some squirrely stuff in over there. Lushy says, Matt, we need to do a program mostly to control my impulse buying, and that's fine. We can do that. We can definitely do that. In fact, I was actually talking to buddy Cole earlier today. Look at this. Silent Syndicate said, Noah's going to be all about Twitch soon. You can show him the ropes. Maybe my son will think I'm some kind of, I don't know. Maybe he will like me because I stream on Twitch. Dad, you stream on Twitch? I can't believe that. That's so crazy. I'm going to adjust this camera because it is so narrow. I forgot. I'm using a 16 millimeter lens, which is very wide angle. And so when I uncropped my image there, it definitely pulls up the sides of my room outside of the green screen. I'll bring that back in. Oh, you can't see it anyway because I've got that hidden all on mine. So getting started here in about 4 minutes, we'll have Ray come on, and this is one of those where I'm not necessarily prepared, so I don't have a whole bunch of questions in the queue for me to ask him. So feel free to throw these in the chats of whichever platform it is you're watching on, whether that be Facebook or YouTube or Twitch or whatever the case may be. Throw your questions in the chat, and these are the ones that we will go to with Ray when we pick the Doc's brain. Again, coming up here in about 4 minutes. In the meantime, let me tell you, I had to go out of town yesterday, and it's a kind of a work thing. Remember to check for audio, both sides. Oh yeah. I've already got it connected here, so I should be good with audio. Oh, audio coming through both my headphones. Listen, although I wish I had control over that, but it's one of those things where when it connects, something happens in the board that just goes wrong, and it only comes through on one channel, and I have no control over that. I really don't. I wish I did, but I don't. Do I have... I can't remember how the phone... I'll just keep it through Bluetooth. We'll see what ends up happening. So anyway, working on a project. I had to leave town yesterday, and it was one of those things where when I was going to bed, I could not fall asleep at all. And I had to leave pretty early, and before I knew it, before I had the opportunity to fall asleep, it was time for me to leave. And I'll tell you, I have not stayed awake for what did that turn into? Let's see. That would have been somewhere around 36 hours. I have not stayed awake for 36 hours since, I don't know, maybe college or something. And it was terrible. It was awful. But I made up for it. I went to bed last night. I got home. Something like, I don't know what time I went to bed. Somewhere around 12, right? Went to bed around 12. Slept till 10 o'clock. I have not put in a full 10 hours, and I can't tell you how long. And I feel great today. Still a little groggy. I'm a little groggy. But my friend John Pinkerton turned me on to these Monster Orange Juice Ultra Sunrise energy drinks. No sugar. 10 calories. And man, they're delicious. They taste like orange juice, Ultra Sunrise energy. What are you doing, baby girl? I see you. I see you. That's the other problem when I have the phone connected, is I've got to turn off all the sounds for the notifications and stuff. Let me make sure that's off. All right, I got that there. Let me turn that down. Okay. I should have no more random noises coming in the background. It was, man. It was a nice chunk of sleep, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel so much better. Yesterday was tough, man. That last half of the drive home, I was really going bananas. There was a couple times where I actually thought to myself, I was like, is it possible to fall asleep with my eyes open while I'm doing this? And actually, I turned on this podcast called the No Sleep Podcast, and it scared the absolute crap out of me. and I was able to. That was how I stayed awake. There was a couple times I considered pulling over and going to sleep, but I was scared if I did fall asleep, I'd sleep for 10 hours, and then I have to finish the drive home, you know. And I was like, I'm not gonna take a risk. I'm gonna be easy here. We'll make it really cold in the car. I'm gonna turn on a scary podcast and just freak out the rest of the way home, because I knew as long as I was freaking out, I was not going to be falling asleep on the way home, and I didn't. Strategery. Let's see here. Ray, feel free, and whenever you are ready, sir, to go ahead and call in, and we will get started on picking the dock spring. Mr. Green said, thinking of getting some 818 X grain to try on the garden at fruit trees. Any thoughts? Yeah, you can do that. Or, you know, a 15, 18. I tell you, probably the one I would go with is like the Peters 20. That'd be a great product. Rumor has it there may be, I may know somebody. I don't want to say who. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he may have come across a soluble 18 that may be coming up. I don't know. It may be a fun one there. I don't want to divulge too much information into that. Lushy, 38 hours is when the mind plays tricks on you. Man, you are not kidding. You are not kidding. I have to say, I don't know if I've ever pulled a full 38 hours while plowing before. When we were doing the work at Pepsi and trying to keep that cleared on the Bobcats when we had the ice storm, I was there for a long time. That may have been like 30 hours or something. And you're not kidding. When you start losing that much sleep, some weird things start going on in your head, especially being by yourself. Especially if you get to the point where you start talking to yourself and then you no longer are talking to yourself, but you feel like you are because the conversation is so loud in your brain. It gets real weird. I don't know how else to describe it, but it gets weird. I know some people just out spraying lawns, they have that. It just where they're in their head the whole time, and it starts to weigh on them after a while. Just treating yards. So I mean, I get it. Samuel said, are there any pre-emergents that are used on dwarf Bermuda greens? Yes, there are. I would say probably the two most popular ones used are going to be Ronstar and Isoxaben Gallery. Those combinations are going to be the most popularly used. And look what we've got here, right on time. So let me go ahead, kill this, and then I'm going to bring this in here. Hello?
Hello.
Ray, what are you doing, sir?
Oh, I'm having my third cup of coffee.
Good.
Truthful answer.
Good.
Truthful answer.
Italian roast?
Yep, Italian roast.
Do you drink any other roast besides Italian roast, Ray?
I do sometimes do a French roast. I do sometimes a French roast because I tend to like the darker roasts a lot more.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I'm 100% with you. I do like the darker roasted coffee, but I there have been some light pour overs I've had. Let's see. I was in Greenville, South Carolina one time, and by the way, if anybody's listening or watching this that's from Greenville, South Carolina, I had no idea how hipster Greenville, South Carolina is, but it is the most hipster area of the South, I think, that exists. Lots of man buns and guys dressed way too nice. And coffee shops were everywhere. And what do they call those, the microbreweries and all that stuff? Oh my goodness, it was just so hipster. It was thick, but I had this really light pour over that was absolutely delicious. It was so good. I wanted to have a second one, but then I got too tweaked out. But it was very good. It almost tasted fruity.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I've never had a medium to light roast that I truly like, because for me, I find them to be a little too, I guess, acidic. I mean, I have such a strong sense of taste that there's a certain acidity that comes from a lighter roast that I don't really care for. I find that a very dark roast gets rid of that acidity.
See, I am the polar opposite. My level of taste is somewhere between, on a scale of 1 to 10, my taste is somewhere between a 0.5 and a 1. I don't know what I've done to my tongue over the years, but I can't identify.
Well, actually,
I
have a good idea as to what happened.
Tell me.
I have a good idea as to what happened. Alcohol and tobacco.
Yeah, that's exactly.
No,
what
not to judge, but as you know, I quit drinking a long time ago, and I never smoked or otherwise consumed any form of tobacco my entire life.
Yeah. I smoked cigarettes for 10 years, and I used to. I haven't had time to drink a whole lot here recently. It's been a few months, but I've got no problem enjoying a few adult beverages from time to time either, and that definitely doesn't do a whole lot to help you in the taste department. That is for sure.
Yeah, because I find that I pick up on flavors and smells. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those things that I was always able to do.
Mr. Green just made a comment here. I wish green coffee beans were more available. Very hard to find if you want to roast your own. That's pretty interesting. I never considered that. Have you ever roasted your own coffee beans?
I actually have. Because my grandfather's place used to have a coffee tree, and I could pick the green, coffee beans off of them, and then, depulp them, dry them, and what I proceeded to do with those is, in a heavy stainless steel saucepan, I would roast on top of the stove, and that coffee was by far some of the strongest coffee I've ever had. I mean, 2 or 3 cups of it, and I'm kind of like tweaking. That was some incredible stuff, and I have yet to buy anything that has that same effect.
Yeah. Ray, we'll kind of get started on the turf questions here. Samuel Asamoah here. Samuel Asamoah, are you the Ghanaian soccer player? The only reason I know that is because it's a long story. Anyway, he was asking about pre-emergence used on dwarf Bermuda greens. And I have no experience maintaining dwarf Bermuda grass. But my immediate thought was Ronstar, Ray. And so I wanted to ask you if you had any inside knowledge there on pre-emerge programs for dwarf Bermuda.
Officially, it is, oxidizon, and there is a product specifically labeled for Bermuda greens called the Anderson's goosegrass control that contains oxidizon, which is Ronstar, plus this second pre-emergent called Benzoate, brand name Betasan, and they've put the two together as a granule, and it's labeled for use on greens. And oh, by the way, betasan is actually an organophosphate.
What?
Yes, sir. It's very closely related to malathion, actually.
Really?
Yeah.
And what did you call that? Betasan?
Yeah, betasan. Yeah, betasan, benzoate.
Huh.
And that is like a pre-emergent that has been around for forever. And it is basically very good for crabgrass and goosegrass control, lasts a long time. However, I could not imagine applying betasan to a residential lawn. I can't imagine doing it.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably not recommended or labeled for it.
Yeah, because there's a high risk of poisoning.
Yeah, when you're dealing with organophosphates, that's you got to be real careful. Yeah, I'm looking here. I see Anderson's has a custom mix, a 24-410 with betasan, 25-610 with betasan. Yeah, it's interesting. I've never heard of that. And you said that is a combination of oxidizon and what else? Benzolide?
And benzolide or betasan, and that's the Anderson's goosegrass control, I think, or they call it KOG or something like that. I mean, I've seen it, and in fact, I saw some research studies. In fact, my friend at University of Hawaii did something with it on, I think, C-sharp epsilon greens, where he was trying to control goosegrass in shortcut C-sharp epsilon, and that was a labeled product for greens.
Interesting. I'm looking at another KOG they have here. It looks like they have multiple KOGs. This one is, it's their dispersible granule, but dicamba, which is pretty interesting. A dispersible granule dicamba.
Whoa, that's another Gulf green broadleaf weed control. Why does that sound scary to me?
Dicamba can be incredibly risky, especially in my opinion in the granular form. I don't know. Dicamba makes me real nervous. Even in the liquid form, I'm on my A game. You know what I mean? Definitely on my A game. But when you start moving into the granular form,
well, I mean, that's the difference between, 2-point-something pounds per 1,000 square foot, and you apply, say, 3 or 4, and all of a sudden, all of the trees in the entire neighborhood start dropping leaves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and okay, I see an alternate product here called Anderson's Products Goosegrass Crabgrass Control, and it contains the benzolide and oxidizon, and that is specifically labeled for Gulf green use. Specifically labeled. Yeah, and for use on, let's see, bent and Bermuda greens.
There we go.
Yeah. But here's my experience applying oxidizon or Ronstar to Bermuda or any other shortcut warm season grass. The second you stop the spreader or the sprayer, if you're using the liquid or the wettable powder version of Ronstar, you had better be turning on your irrigation zone by zone, and you keep on watering until you can't see the product anymore.
So I had a little camera difficulty there. Yeah, I forgot I'm using a different camera. The screen's it's going to time out every 15 minutes, so just remind me when it gets off, and I'll flip it back on. What a lot of people don't realize is that Ronstar is kind of one of those things that is, I'm going to use this term loosely, non-selective.
Actually, Yeah, yeah. I think that's a good way to put it. And in fact, Ronstar is, I believe, a PTOI inhibitor taken to the extreme, and it has the similar mode of action to your sulfentrazone, carfentrazone, and oxychloroquine. And those are, of course, known for rapidly destroying any kind of green tissue that they contact.
Yes. So, and when I say non-selective, that's exactly what I'm saying, is that it has the potential to damage anything that's green. And that's why you most commonly see it impregned on a granular carrier. One is for the fertilizer load to grow out any damage that occurs. And number two is to bypass foliar contact to cause any kind of physical damage upon foliar action.
Correct. However, even in a granular form, I've heard many horror stories about how after the granules are spread, say some golfers or personnel either drive or walk across the area before the granules have been watered in, everywhere they either drove or stepped on was marked by burned turf.
Yeah, I may or may not have done that before.
Yeah, because the truth of the matter is that Ronstar is something that I use quite a bit of, but not where you think. I mostly use it in ornamental and shrub beds to provide bare ground weed control between the shrubs and ornamentals.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And say you combine Ronstar with some prodiamine and some diquat, and that is a shrub and tree safe bare ground weed control. Everything down to the ground and dead in approximately 24 hours.
Here's kind of an interesting thing here. I found a study. This is Dwarf Bermuda grass tolerance to pre-emergent herbicides in the American Society for Horticultural Science. And these are the ones, and I'll just kind of summarize the abstract here. These were Tiff Eagle greens, right? And so they applied benzolide, dithiopyr, and napropamide. I'm not familiar with napropamide. Oxadiazone and oxadiazone plus benzolide and pendimethalin. So they tested all of those. And this is kind of the summary is all herbicides reduced root mass from the non-treated, but only losses incited by oxadiazone plus benzolide were acceptable, less than 20%. Dithiopyr, napropamide, and pendimethalin delayed spring green up in 2003 and 2004, where oxadiazone plus benzolide delayed spring green up in 2004. In greenhouse experiments, Tiff Eagle Bermuda grass root mass was reduced 19% to 37%, 30 to 33%, 4 to 26%, 28 to 37%, and 24 to 30% from various rates of benzolide, dithiopyr, napropamide, and pendimethalin, respectively. Oxadiazone and oxadiazone plus benzolide reduced root mass only by 2 to 15% and 15 to 22%, respectively. So, pretty overall, dwarf type Bermuda grass greens do not appear tolerant to meiotic inhibitor or pre-emergent herbicides such as or DNAs, right, or dinitroalanines. So, like pendimethalin, prodiamine, dithiopyr, they're recommending not to use that when you're sacrificing a third of your root mass just by using that product. So yeah, obviously here it looks like actually the synergy between oxadiazone and benzolide seems to be even less impactful on the root system than maybe even oxadiazone by itself. Pretty interesting.
Well, I'm highly unsurprised because benzolide, technically one of the few herbicides that you can legally apply to a bent grass green. And bent grass, from my understanding, is even more sensitive to root pruning effects than Bermuda. So, for example, if you look on your prodiamine or your diethyl label, it says do not apply to bent grass turf mowed under a half an inch. Whereas, do not take my word for it, but I know for a fact that warm season turf mowed at less than a half an inch will tolerate the lower labeled rates of prodiamine acceptably.
At lower than half inch. And so listen, all you nutbags out there that are maintaining your residential Bermuda grass at a 1/4 inch, or Telly Coleman taking it down to, what was he mowing at, 0.13 inches?
Yeah, 0.13 or 0.15, something like that. I mean, that's like stuff I do, That's stuff I do. And
Telly, be careful.
Yeah, but what I am saying about it is you can do it, but that means then that your annual application rate on that low-cut Bermuda is no more than a pound of the prodiamine WDG per year. No more than a pound. It's not pound and a half. It's not 2 pounds. It's no more than 1 pound of the WDG per year. That's your limit.
Yeah, it's something that people need to take into consideration, that, when you have these low-cut lawns, there's typically a section of the label that pertains directly to you.
Yes. And I'm actually extremely familiar with, that concept of what you may do to a high, or what I call rough cut turf area. It's very different from turf that is kept at a half an inch or lower.
Yes.
It's very different. And here's where it gets more interesting. You actually have a lot of leeway as far as what you can do when you are growing that low-cut turf on dirt. And the reason why you have that leeway is because the soil limits downward movement of your pre-emergent versus a sand-based green where they actively eliminate all soil, and they also actively minimize the amount of organic matter that it's accumulated in that sand. I know for a fact that most of your pre-emergents have a very poor binding ability to sand, and they will literally move straight down several inches in sand.
And that's where it gets to be a problem, because we've talked about this before, but the downward mobility of your pre-emergent directly influences the amount of negative consequence your root system faces.
That's correct. And that is why, for example, what if I told you I will even use spectacle on low-cut turf?
Oh, yeah, I believe that. 100%.
I'll do it. But imagine applying no more than 3 to 4 ounces of the spectacle flow at a time.
Yeah, I would hate to see what would happen if you're going out with a full 8 ounces. What is max rate? 10 ounces or 11 ounces, something like that?
8 to 10 ounces, because true story. I remember being consulted by some golf courses because Spectacle is a brand new product, and they elected to spray like the maximum label rate on their fairways. And they were getting all kinds of damage. And I isolated that to the product moved downward and it root pruned, where that effect is not as likely if you keep at the lower side of the label. And this is very important. Do not apply before heavy rain.
Because how do these herbicides end up moving? A lot of it has to do with water.
Water, right? In fact, the beer people, literally, they came out, and what they advised us turf professionals to do is, if you're going to use Spectacle, apply it to lower rates. And what they also told us to do, it's going to sound very interesting, but they also instructed us to water the turf area very lightly and then withhold water for at least 24 hours to allow the active ingredient to bind to the soil at that point. And the whole rationale was to minimize downward movement of the product, into the root zone of the desirable turf.
And let's kind of cross reference this here. We're talking a lot about warm season grass and Spectacle. So for those of you that have cool season grass, by all means, do not hear this and think, oh wait, maybe I should try Spectacle on my cool season grass. You won't do that because it's not a good thing. It's going to cause irreversible damage that you will have to seed away and fix. So just take when you hear anything about Spectacle, take it all out of your mind. Ray, let me ask you, and I think this is kind of an interesting thing. What causes the phytotoxicity symptoms from Spectacle when applied to cool season grass? Do you know?
I have no, actual idea. However, I suspect that there's a differential in tolerance to the root pruning effect. And what I think is happening is that the Spectacle root prunes the cool season grass so aggressively that cool season grass just cannot pick up any more water or nutrients, and it's just dead.
Yeah.
That's what I think happens. However, oddly enough, I think pendimethalin does the same thing to warm season grasses, in that there's a differential in tolerance to the pendimethalin, and pendimethalin will very easily burn out and kill warm season grass.
It's interesting you say that, because I used to, it was just kind of a feeling I had, a hunch, was cold winters and pendimethalin on zoysia grass equaled a terrible, terrible spring for whatever reason. So it's interesting you bring that up, because it was similar to an observation I felt like I had before.
Well, and I've also seen what happens when somebody here gets a hold of a bag of Scott's pulp, which is granular pendimethalin, and they sell that at the big box stores, and they proceed to apply that to their low-cut warm season lawn. Disaster ensues.
Yikes. And and there's nothing fun about applying pendimethalin anyway. I mean, let's be real. I don't care if you're spraying AquaCap or whatever cheap off-brand you are. It's not pleasant.
No, I mean, it's nasty. I mean, actually, I can think of something even nastier than pendimethalin.
What is that?
Horizolin.
Oh, I've never sprayed Horizolin. I think I've applied it on in a dry form, but not in a liquid. That one's orange, isn't it?
Liquid. Yeah, that's like bright orangey. Yeah, it's like bright orange, and the stuff soaks into plastics and stains them orange. You get it on concrete, you're done. You get it on paint, you're done. And back in the old days, I actually used to use Surfland as a pre-emergent in turf. And then I stopped doing it totally.
And Horizolin is also a DNA too, right?
It's a DNA, and the thing about Horizolin is that it is extremely toxic to most cool season grasses.
Yeah,
very toxic.
Yeah. That's it's coming back to me now. That is a big note on the label. Do not apply to cool season grasses because it will knock them out.
Yeah, and you should also put a warning on the label about what it'll do to shortcut warm season grasses.
Similarly, damaging low Heidecut warm season.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
Similarly damaging. I mean, because I've had some near misses with Surfland, and so now that gets only applied in bare ground non-crop situations.
Aldo just asked if Snapshot had Horizolin in it. I didn't. I thought it was trifluralin in isoxaben, but I'm looking around over here. They may have a formulation that does have it in it. Do you know?
Okay. In the 1990s, there were two Snapshots.
Oh boy.
One was the Snapshot G, and that was isoxaben plus trifluralin, and that was a granule that you applied to a fertilizer spreader. And for a short time, there was also a Snapshot WDG or DF that had Horizolin plus isoxaben that was labeled for spray application in nurseries and landscape planting areas.
Oh boy.
Okay. And I actually liked the Snapshot WDG. I actually consider the Snapshot granular, for lack of a better description, an extremely poorly chosen formulation. Do you know why?
No, why?
Trifluralin is extremely volatile unless it's immediately incorporated into soil or irrigated into soil.
Or you're putting it down and then laying mulch over it?
Yeah. Whereas Horizolin or Surfland can literally stay on top of soil, not irrigated in, for up to a month.
Whoa!
Yeah. Surfland is some pretty persistent stuff, actually. I mean, that's why I love it for bare ground weed control, because I can literally deny an area to grassy weeds with Surfland. But, going back to the Snapshot, trifluralin as a granule will even start to gas off and disappear if you spread it on a hot day and you don't water it in immediately. Because I've seen many instances where somebody applied snapshot granule, and they have fabulous broadleaf weed control because the isoxaben part is also stable on the surface of the soil for up to 14 days. But they had grassy weed breakthrough like you wouldn't believe because the trifluralin proportion volatilized in the heat and just disappeared.
That's pretty interesting. That is definitely pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, because I know trifluralin as the product that in ag, the applicator for trifluralin is literally a subsurface injector that injects trifluralin between the rows of the crop. You don't leave it on the soil surface under any circumstance because it'll volatilize and disappear, and you'll lose your application.
Well, Ray, I'm gonna kind of switch you up here because I've been, I don't think it's any secret. I enjoy watching what takes place on the agricultural and commodity market, and I'm curious. Are you seeing any? I know you're in a unique area. You're in Hawaii, right? So isolated, and I would say you're probably. I don't know if you're more exposed to market volatility in fertilizer prices or less exposed just because already the markup to get it there kind of pads that. But are you seeing any real major changes on fertilizer prices right now?
Actually, I'm not. I haven't been warned by my suppliers of commodities being subject to a price increase. I haven't had that notification. Whereas I remember in the early 2000s, I got warned. Prices of potassium and phosphorus are going up. I remember that warning. I also received a warning about nitrogen, particularly urea, going up in the 2000s, but I haven't had that kind of warning since then. So, and besides that, anything in a 50-pound bag here is going to cost $20 or more.
Oh yeah. I'm sure. I mean, just the cost to move material there is wildly difficult. The price is up roughly 10% year over year where we are, but that's not to say that it's up necessarily that much. I'd say we're trending a little higher for where we normally are, and we're going to continue to see prices kind of decline until spring. Obviously, as February gets here, and then March into May. That's where where you normally see your big price rises in urea. So normally you see it like now trending upward, and then it'll start to dip down and then trend back up in the spring, obviously, because that's when people are planting. And you'll see some people do fall applications of nitrogen. A lot of people do all of their purchasing for their inputs in the fall. So I was just curious. It's only up 10%, which is not necessarily that big in the urea commodity market, right? So as just an example, last year, low price was retail around 400 a ton, and right now it's at roughly 500 a ton retail. So that's not in the grand scheme of thing. That's not just a wildly different. That's going to influence our prices where we're buying it a whole heck of a lot. Now, what's interesting, and this is where I thought I would see more action. I don't think it's any real secret that Agrium and Potash Corp merged. So Potash Corp was the largest producer of potassium chloride in North America, and Agrium was another input producer, and they actually controlled a much larger distribution chain where they not only did they lease and manufacture nitrogen, but they also distributed, formulated, blended, distributed, sold chemical, that kind of thing too. And when Agrium was formed, which was the merger between, when Nutrien was formed, which was the merger between Agrium and Potash Corp, I thought that was to help increase the price per ton of potassium chloride. And I got to say, it is not moving at all. We had some movement last year, like some rather large movement, where we were up over 30 something percent. And then all of a sudden it has dropped back down, and retail right now is, about $400 a ton. And just to put this into perspective for everybody playing along, sulfate of potash, which is a much lower salt index, considered to be an elite form of potash. You're going to be somewhere around $1,000 a ton. So, that's a very significant price difference when you're going from 400 a ton to 1,000 a ton. So it's odd, even though we might be up slightly on urea prices, it looks like our potash prices are on potassium chloride, at least, are just falling wildly right now. That is bizarre to me.
Yeah, that's kind of strange, but my guess is maybe here's what is potentially the effect. A lot of your agricultural crops, I think, with the ongoing pandemic, overall production and therefore acreage in production is going down here in the United States, because if you remember, back in the spring and summer of this year, there were accounts of farmers essentially having to trash entire fields of vegetables and potatoes because after COVID hit, the market for those products just fell out because, remember now, if restaurants are illegal, there's no more market for a lot of that agricultural produce, right?
Yes.
There's no more market. It's gone. I mean, who would have thought that order to close restaurants would basically kill the potato farmer? But it all makes sense to me because, true or false, Matt, one of the most common food items, in a restaurant is the little French fry.
Yes, freedom fries.
Fries, right? And the potatoes that were affected were that specific variety and type that was used for commercial frying. Because, by the way, that potato is not what's sold in stores. It's actually specific to making French fries and potato chips. It's an entirely different variety. So farmers had fields and fields of this potato that would normally be shipped to the plant, cut into chips or fries, and earlier this year that just came to a grinding halt. So I'm suspecting that because of this, upheaval, demand for fertilizer is not going to be very high.
And I'll tell you, what's kind of interesting with the whole thing is also the limited supply that's kind of taking place. And I think this is all kind of pointing to a little bit of market stability in the prices. Is at the same time, you have to remember all of our imported fertilizers now are undergoing a massive, what do you call it? The tax on imported products. What is that called? I'm drawing a
Oh,
blank.
the tariff.
The tariffs.
The tariff.
Yes. So we had, for instance, the big competing to the North American mines of like sulfate of potash is coming out of Egypt, right? Any sulfate of potash coming out of Egypt right now is undergoing a massive tariff. Urea coming out of Brazil or the Middle East is undergoing a massive tariff. So these are all spot prices you can get in the commodity market. You got these spot prices where they land, and normally they come in through the Gulf and NOLA, New Orleans, and now just the supply you're going to see there is just nothing because they're not going to be able to compete on price because of these massive tariffs. So I think you might see lower demand, but you're also seeing lower product availability because it's no longer being imported from overseas. So it may have actually helped stabilize that market right now. Otherwise, prices may be really low, which obviously would benefit us. But at the same time, a lot of people lose out when that happens as well. So I don't know. All in all, it could be a bit of a positive. Maybe a hair. The people who have to bear the brunt on that are again the farmers, because they do not get to capitalize on. So many people are going to end up losing on their food supply. Now they're also losing on their potential for rock bottom fertilizer prices too. But I have to say, fertilizer prices right now are actually relatively low. Now, where it does start to get a little expensive is DAP. DAP is up pretty significantly right now. It's up 44% year over year. That's high. Why is DAP up?
Yeah.
Again, I think this has to do with imported products, right? All of that supply has been limited. We know Mosaic down in Florida sold their production facility down there. They shut down that piece of it and then sold their facility to Anuvia. So the the phosphorus coming out of Florida supply has been reduced pretty friggin' significantly as well.
Yep. And other factor is that you do know that there's a lot of phosphate that is located in China and Russia.
Yes.
Okay. China and Russia, have significant phosphate deposits. So tariffs, that will hit that because the fact is that in order to make DAP or MAP, at least for the bulk granular version, that is as simple as reacting phosphate rock with ammonia.
Yes.
That's as simple as that, although the form of MAP and DAP that I use is formed by reacting ammonia with what they call liquid or, chemically pure phosphoric acid. Because there's two kinds of DAP and MAP. One is granular, which is the phosphated, phosphate rock ammoniated, and then the crystalline form is from phosphoric acid that is reacted with ammonia.
So I'm not super familiar with that. Are they reacting these in a liquid form and then drying them? Well, or reacting, a liquid. Is the reaction producing a liquid and then they're granulating, or is it creating like a sludge that they're then granulating? Do you know? I've never done a rock phosphate and ammonia reaction.
Okay, it's rock phosphate that is reacted with, I guess, what they call aqua ammonia, and that, applies the nitrogen to the phosphate rock, but because there's still the, calcium phosphate still present, that is a relatively insoluble product. Because when I go to my vendor, I need to specify solution grade MAP. Otherwise, I get the ammoniated phosphate. And ammoniated phosphate is not water soluble.
No, it's not. Doc, I'm going to have to change my camera real quick. The two backup batteries I have, oddly, are dead. They were not seated correctly in the charger. So feel free, pick a topic and go ahead and start chatting about it, and I'll be back here in about 30 seconds.
Okay, I'll let you replace your camera batteries, and I'm going to go take up some questions here because I do believe, yeah, somebody asked a little question in the chat, and I'd like to get to that. Okay, Samuel, you asked how long you have to wait to apply Pre-Emergent in your landscape area after you've installed shrubs and flowers. I would typically wait at least 2 weeks between planting and application of Pre-Emergent, if that answers your question. All right. And the reason for that is you want your soil to settle around those plants so that your Pre-Emergent has no chance of reaching the bare roots of your shrubs and flowers. I hope that answered your question. All right.
Wow. I got a battery. Let me see if I can get this fired up. Did you have to take anybody out, Ray?
No, I didn't have to take anybody out. Dear Aldo there, he knows how I do it if I had to. Yeah, you see, Aldo had a misconception about what a chain was.
Oh, that one's dead too. Let me get another one.
Oh,
back to you, Ray.
Oh my. We're having mild technical difficulties this afternoon. Yeah. Okay. And I would imagine, although, that root pruners and peptides, they actually, if you do have a problem with the root pruning product, I don't think the peptides are really going to help you. And okay, dear, if that answers your question, and Brad here, C-Rad, Snapshot will not damage your grassy, your ornamental grasses in your flower bed. That's perfectly safe, because those are perennial grasses that are not emergent from seed. So, yeah. In fact, with pendimethalin and oryzolin applied to low-cut warm season grass, I can't think of any good antidote to problems created by such an application other than know not to do it in the first place. And Yeah, because with that bag of Hulps, for example, that is specifically labeled for your higher cut warm season grasses and your higher cut cool season grasses. I don't think the manufacturer ever envisioned using it on real low warm season grass. DNA pre-emergent on a cool season grass. Well, there are two that I know of.
There's not a lot of options.
And, okay, provided you're not working in a residential area, I believe you can use pronamide or curb. You can also use ethylphosphate as your pre-emergent, but check your label on the curb regarding where you may legally apply it.
Yeah, curb is effective. It's got a good reputation.
Well, you know what kind of shocks me? You know our friend in Australia? He can legally use curb on his home lawn.
Really?
Yeah. Ben can use curb on his home lawn. In fact, there's no special issues or restrictions on curb in Australia.
I had no idea.
Whereas here in the United States, curb is explicitly prohibited in residential areas.
Did you hear that,
Not
Aldo?
allowed under any circumstances. Not allowed. However, that is, basically due to some EPA shenanigans.
Is there what is the other alternative for cool season grass? That's not a DNA. You said pronamide and what else?
Progress or ethylphosphate.
Yeah. That's right. I've got to say, in cool season grasses, I think that is the most underutilized, untalked about, kind of secret squirrely product that's available. I mean, it's actually diverse in a lot of the things it can accomplish. You know, it's got post-emergent activity on additional weeds outside of just Poa annua as well too.
Right, and if I had either zoysia or Bermuda grass contamination in a cool season turf, I think I would put ethylphosphate front and center in the weed control program.
Say that again.
I would, if I had zoysia or Bermuda grass contamination in a cool season turf, I would put ethylphosphate front and center in the herbicide program.
So I have never used ethylphosphate for Bermuda control, except for I mixed it with glyphosate and sprayed some Bermuda that was growing through pea gravel, because it was the only thing I had available, and it was very odd. The reaction that ended up having. I don't know if those two don't play real well together. I didn't have any problems spraying it, so. I don't think there was anything there, but it was kind of odd how the Bermuda grass reacted to it. I feel like it inhibited the effects of the glyphosate for a period of time. You know, it's common for me to not see glyphosate do anything for 2 weeks, right? I mean, that's normal,
right?
But when it did, it just did not have the typical glyphosate experience. You know, that yellowing that occurs. It was a slower gray out over a 6-week period versus a 4-week period.
Okay, I can I can explain that one because when you use Phosphate for removing grass contamination from St. Augustine or C. sherpaspalum, what happens is that your target grasses do go through that stunting and that gray out, and it happens over a 1 to 2 month period. It's not an immediate thing at all.
And this is, I don't know where I'm going with this, but it reminded me, hearing that kind of time frame on the results of it, it kind of reminds me of the new PoaCure, because that's kind of a season-long control approach as well.
Right. And with Phosphate, the way you apply it to, for example, emerged targets is you keep on applying low rates over a 2 to 4 week interval. You don't need, it's not a single application, it's multiple applications over time. Not a one and done.
Yeah, right. Again, are we going to enter a new age of ultra slow repeat application herbicides where you make like 3 applications a season, like every 8 to 12 weeks or something?
I don't see a way out of it. I don't see a way out of it because with the way that the chemistry is going, where the fast and toxic stuff is, disfavored, we're going to have to get used to applying the slower and more specific applications. Like, for example, here's the complaint that I frequently hear. I hear about how worthless Revolver and Celsius is. Okay? I hear how worthless it is. But when I use it, what I expect out of it is it's going to take me 3 to 4 weeks to see the injury from it on the weed, and then that weed is going to start to try to make a comeback from the injury, and when it's starting to make that comeback, that's when you hit it again with a second application. It's not one and done anymore. I mean, one and done would be MSMA. One and done would be some other products that probably got removed from the market before I got into the business.
Well, here's the thing that, boy, you want to talk about redoing MSMA over again? If you purged the use history of the past and brought it back as a low rate, frequent, multiple application a kind of tool, say what if the max rate on it was 1.5 ounces, right? And so the usage rate was 3/4 to 1.5 ounces, and you made 3 to 4 applications. What a different tool that is! Just as effective. But what a different tool.
It's actually when I was using it, I know I went with 1.5 ounces per 1,000 square foot broadcast, repeated at 2-week intervals. However, I had my kickers in there such that I didn't need to make a third application because the second application usually finished it off.
So I would do, like, if I had sensitive areas, say like a fescue or zoysia grass, I would do 1 ounce and do 3 applications at 1 ounce, and it would be on fescue, it would chew it up pretty decent, but it wouldn't kill it. And zoysia grass, you definitely get some tip burn, but not a complete smoke out. And Bermuda, sometimes you may not get any discoloration if it's not over 95 degrees outside.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen Bermuda tolerate 1.5 ounces per 1,000 square foot with maybe just a little bit of yellowing, but that yellowing is easily masked by making sure you've got enough nitrogen and iron on that turf in the weeks prior to making that application. You know, there's ways around it. And as far as the zoysia goes, depending on the cultivar of zoysia 2 may come through it with little to no burn or damage. And so it depends. However, it's a matter of, and oh, by the way, if you broadcast apply it, the damage is a lot less obvious.
Yes, I would agree too.
Yeah, it's a lot less obvious. I mean, because back then, I'd run 1 ounce to 1.5 ounces per 1,000 square foot, and maybe there'd be a little bit of yellowing, but I wouldn't make holes in the turf.
Ray, did you see Jaron Hoover here, he got a very heavy wet snow, and he has 17 feet arborvitae trees that are leaning real heavily after the snow. Did you see that?
Yeah. And
do not top those trees.
Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't top them off. That is just the worst thing you do to a tree. And my general position on trees is, if you have to heavily or radically cut a tree, you should rethink whether that tree is even planted in the right place. Rethink it.
Yeah, and I would say, Jaron, from my experience in this and dealing with leaning arborvitae trees, get a ratchet strap on it or something, or use a come along and bring those back up straight and stake them, tie them down. Do not top those trees, because they will never come back the way you want them to. They're all going to develop bot cankers, and then eventually will die. Just straighten them out. I've seen it go both ways. Even around here, Ray, do y'all grow cryptomerias in Hawaii?
No cryptomerias, but I do have some arborvitae around, and I do also have Italian cypress.
Oh, yeah.
And those plants, they are ruined by people taking trimmers or chainsaws to them. I mean, they're ruined. They're ruined, especially when someone gets a hair up their butt and wants them short, or, this branch is in the wrong place, so I'm just going to start chopping at it. It's ugly. It doesn't get good.
Cryptomerias they're basically arborvitaes that are just they take sensitivity to a whole new level, and and I have seen those straightened out even successfully. And I'll tell you, if you can straighten out a cryptomeria, there's not a tree you can't straighten out, because I mean that's one you sneeze at the wrong way, and all of a sudden it's losing mega amounts of branches. So I would have no issue whatsoever getting out there and winching on a arborvitae to stretch it out. I've seen it so many times. Just don't forget after you do stake it out to remove your or use an appropriate method of supporting the rope or strap or whatever you're using, so that way it doesn't girdle the tree. That's another big mistake I see people make, is all of a sudden the tree is girdled by whatever they use to hold it up, and then the tree starts growing around it, and then the tree fails.
Yep. Or all of a sudden you have steel cable embedded in the trunk of the tree. I've seen that too.
Yeah, and it ain't coming out.
I've seen steel cable, and of course that steel cable does become a hazard to the arborist when he finally needs take that tree out or needs to selectively trim it, because steel cables and chainsaws don't get along very well.
No, they do not.
No, no, right? So, my instruction to people is, whatever you do to a tree, please wrap your wire or your cable or whatever in something like soft rubber tubing, or something similar. Or else, if you use nylon or strapping, keep that dang thing off before it grows into the tree trunk, please.
Yeah, Lushy said an old piece of garden hose, exactly something like that would work great.
Yeah, old piece of water hose. That's like one of the best things. And I use the 1-inch ID poly irrigation hose. That works well too because it's big.
Yeah. That would work well as well. And I never thought about
that. Because I got that lying around. But the point is think about the tree and the tree trunk when you contemplate tying something around that tree. It's just common sense.
Yeah, remember how tree rings work. You gain a tree ring for every year of life. That's outward growth. That's outward expansion, and it will overtake whatever's in its way to continue to move outwardly.
Which reminds me of something that I saw the other week that just peed me off.
Oh boy, here we go.
Okay.
Wait.
Well,
Wait. No. Okay, go ahead.
Somebody installed low voltage landscape lighting in a tree, right?
Okay.
And this is how they chose to install it. They got the light up there, right? And then they strapped the fixture around the tree branch. It was just some kind of a plastic strap, and that strap grew into the tree branch.
So you're saying they like zip tied a light into a tree to function as landscape lighting?
Yeah. It wasn't zip tie. Actually, it was like the material looked like that 1/2-inch wide strap that you use for strapping up pellets.
Oh, Lord have mercy! My goodness, what a terrible idea!
No, because I install light fixtures up into tree branches, but here's how I do it. I have the brass bases for the lights, and here's how that brass base gets mounted. I screw into the tree trunk with stainless steel screws. And you know why stainless steel? Because it's inert. It does not hurt the tree. On the other hand, I've seen people use galvanized or
zinc plated or something. Yeah.
And I'm like, that's like, well, although that didn't upset me as much as seeing that strap material. It didn't bother me as much as seeing the strap. The strap just like, yeah, because my thought is that why would you do something that can so negatively affect the health of the tree or the plant? Why do that?
Yeah, for sure.
Why do it? I mean, just why did somebody do that? Whereas, okay, I know it's kind of a little bit of a pain to, screw in some 2-inch long, number 12 screws, stainless steel. That's not nearly as quick and dirty as tying a pellet strap around the tree. Oh, and by the way, that is actually part of, I think, a mounting kit for some light fixtures. They sell it like that.
What?
Yeah, it's sold like that, Matt. Honestly, like it's like this thing where you just tighten the strap on the tree branch, and that must be why that thing ended up with a strap around its branch, because it was somebody actually bought that.
Oh, come on.
Yeah. And so, whereas on the other hand, I have been asked to, mount low voltage lighting fixtures up into trees, and the way I've always done it is by, screwing in to the branch or the tree trunk with those stainless steel screws.
Boy.
I know. And it's the only time that a strap does not cause that much harm, because the tree just breaks it off when it gets too big, is on palm trees or coconut trees. Then it doesn't matter, because when the trunk of that expands, it just will pop the strap.
I don't know how many people are growing coconut trees out there, but I'd say to the viewership right now, probably 0, maybe 1. Aldo, do you have coconut trees in the yard? Would Southern California even support coconut trees? I don't know. I'd say, they probably would, wouldn't it?
I think you can have. I think you can have palm trees in the more coastal part of Southern Cal, like in San Diego. But I'm not sure you can do it inland.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sure he is inland, isn't he?
Yeah. There's a big difference, climate-wise, in coastal versus inland. There's a huge difference in climate.
You're telling me. I live real inland.
Yeah. Well, that was just my little shocker the other week, as I looked up and I saw scraps on the tree branch. Yeah, and that's not the first time I've seen that. Not the first time I've seen it, and I'm thinking, why is that even sold?
Right.
Why? I mean, because I've even asked, my actual arborist friends, and even those guys, they kind of prefer my method. They prefer my method. They're not into the idea of tying something around a tree that will then grow into its bark or into the trunk itself. They're not into that.
Yeah.
They're actually, believe it or not, less alarmed by the stainless steel screw.
Well, Ray, I'm gonna have to call it. I got to go in here and take the kids out, since I'm gonna be gone the rest of the week. But I want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to come on the show today. I had a lot of fun doing this. So.
Oh yeah. I mean, we got to do this. I think a little more often.
As my life slowly starts coming back to normal, which it should. Next week we've got the big thing we're working on. So I'll probably be on the road that week, and then as we start moving in towards Christmas and New Year's, and then I get the data back from that somewhere around the 1st of January, and my life should, in theory, go back to normal, at least somewhat normal for a period of time. So I'm almost there, Ray. So thank you for being patient with me, and thank you for coming on the radio today.
Oh no, you're most welcome. I mean, I don't know. I think you've got to basically give everybody a lot more notice when you're going to do this. That way they have their questions all lined up and ready to go.
Yeah, that is the truth. That is the truth.
I mean, because that way we get to dive into the really hard, brain melter type questions.
I know I need to sit down and do my own research, which, by the way, Ray, I'll share with you offline. But I've been doing some work with experimental products and pre-emergence, measuring the effect on the root system of various inputs when applied with pre-emergence. I'll share that with you off there because I'm not ready to go live with it yet, but it's pretty interesting.
Right.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the flip side. I appreciate you, Ray, sir, and we'll talk to you soon as well.
All right. You have a good evening now.
All right, you too.
Bye now.
See ya. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Love you all. We'll catch you on the flip side.